everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Great run so far. Really good run last time. We learned to appreciate the D7. Gosh darn, the RZA, RHZA 3F8T. Little Gish, terrible rate of fire. Okay, this is okay. Especially because of the prayer card, and also getting at least a little bit of HP out of that room, although we did pay HP to go in. I'm going to say a couple of things. Thank God for the prayer card, and thank God our damage stat is not as bad as our fire rate. Okay, they pushed me in, fair enough, that's what they do. Can't be mad. Can't be mad at a hammer for hitting the nail. Can't be mad at these guys for pushing me into an enemy. That's their MO. It's up to us to work around it. We have pretty much one simple... I don't want to call it a win condition yet, because, you know... Well, that's very helpful, to be honest. I don't want to call it a win condition, because it's a different game. But, if we could get a single tiers upgrade, this run goes from, like, a 5 to probably a 7. We should win a 5. Like, I think this is an average start. It's actually maybe above average. You know, I always use, like, because my math skills are permanently stuck in, like, the 10th grade, I always use, like, the equation of a linear function, y equals mx plus b. We're starting slow, but our m value is off the charts. Like, thanks to prayer card, this run should rise ridiculously. But, you know, we're starting at, like, negative 20. Mostly because of 15 rate of fire. I really think there's two stats that determine your odds of winning an Eden run. And it's taken me maybe, you know, 300 or 400 Eden runs to come to this conclusion. The first stat is HP. If you start with 1 HP, it really doesn't matter what your damage is. It doesn't matter as much, I should say. You run the risk of dying just from one bad room. Or even a room that just screws you, like, you know, the TNT room, and then also one of the rocks explodes. Just want to see if maybe we can get a battery charge drop out of nowhere. Otherwise, we probably should have stored up our charge and had a better chance of getting an odd number of plays on the next floor. Life goes on, though. Very likely to be a second secret room. The other stat is rate of fire. Oh, I forgot about you. The other stat is rate of fire, because, you know, your damage being 3 versus 4, it matters, but it doesn't change all that much. Your rate of fire going from 10 to 15, which is, or ranging from 10 to 15, I should say, is a huge difference. Or at least it feels like it, psychologically speaking. So we're going to actually be in an okay spot here. Obviously no fire rate increase on the first floor, but HP is fine. And then on top of that, Dark Bum is really like an unbelievably strong item to get from our first item room. And we have an Orbital, which minimizes some of the damage-related woes we might otherwise be feeling. You know, we can get in there, and at this point, if you don't feel comfortable using an Orbital in Isaac, I actually... In many ways, I envy you, because I think it, you know, having access to the knowledge of the power that an orbital is capable of, I think it's done, it has the potential to do more harm than good. I don't think it's done more harm than good, but I think it could. So here's what I think. Certainly we're going to use this, but I do think you're best off if you can use your prayer card an odd number of times. So if we look at the map and it doesn't seem likely we're going to be able to use prayer card 3 times, like 2 more times on top of the one we already have, we're just going to store up a charge, and then we can start our next floor with a full charge and better odds to make it come to fruition. Because really, prayer card, it only pays out every other play. So we've had this happen a lot lately, and normally I'm a little cheesed when I get a Krampus fight early on, and I mean that it hasn't changed here. I am still a little cheesed. It's a free improvement, and we might be able to get a deal with the Angel as a result of it, but we'd much rather have the opportunity to... I mean, in your head, you're always just thinking it could be Brimstone, it could be Mom's Knife, it could be, you know, blah, 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 blah. Either way, I'm feeling in the groove again, and, you know, after you lose a run, I always, and it happened fairly recently with that Sharp Plug run, throws you in a little bit of a tailspin, and then it's up to you to recover as quickly as possible. I can't deny it. There's a remarkable coincidence. And I don't mean coincidence as like a chance. I mean coincidence as like two things incidenting close together or simultaneously. There's a remarkable coincidence of me losing a streak and then losing another run or two or three immediately after it. And I don't know, man. It at some point it becomes superstitious to deny it. You know, because in my head, I'm like, well, obviously that doesn't make any sense. Like, if we just won 30 runs in a row, and then we lose one, we should still have like a 97% chance to win our next one. But, you know, that statistically has not borne out in the actual results. So at some point, it becomes foolish to just deny it, I think. Anyway, this run is still fine. But it will be not fine. I don't want to say soon. And we maybe could have gotten a third charge here. But I think it would have required probably buying something from the shop. So we'll see. Mom's Contact is totally okay. But does incentivize us to get a, you know, a Tears upgrade as soon as possible to apply that as quickly as we can. You know, Mr. Meeseeks is... okay. I'm gonna try something weird. And I'm gonna place another bomb to keep trying something weird. And I'm gonna place another... you know what? Battery Baby would have been good there, but Car Battery is also great. So let's see. Let's go. Okay, so for 7 cents, we've done something incredible here. And... certainly, I can't call the run, you know, set in stone, but it's definitely a win on HP. Every 6 rooms, we're getting an HP upgrade. That's basically like having Book of Revelations, but for red hearts. It's insanely great. And it's so good, it actually plays itself out of usefulness too quickly. You know, like, after a while, there's going to be a temptation to remove Prayer Card, because we actually don't want to have 12 Red Heart containers. If anything, we'd probably rather have, like... I mean, if we could have, really, I hate to say it, but 3 Red Heart containers and 9 Spirit Hearts, that would be probably the split that we'd be happiest with. But we'll continue to add some for now, because of Deal with the Devil potential, but... either way, basically what this is an incredibly great backup. You know, it's having a backup goaltender or a second string quarterback where you're like, oh, we can win with him easily. We might rather have, you know, Mega, if possible. We might rather have, don't say Guppy's Head, don't say Guppy's Head. No, we might rather have a variety of other items that you can doubtlessly figure out for yourself. Based on your own preferences. Would we rather have the D7? No. But, you know, we did learn to appreciate it a little bit more on our last run, and I'm happy for that. I'm telling you, the run is good right now, but it's not far away from greatness. First rate of fire, I don't know if it's guaranteed. Typically, though, the first rate of fire upgrade from 15 takes you to 9. So it's almost a doubling of your rate of fire. Not quite, but close enough. So all we need to do is, and it doesn't have to be on an item room, we can pay for one on the shop, we can get Chaos and then get it on the shop somehow. I think we're in a good spot. And I'm feeling... I think part of why you lose more after you lose once is the idea of, like, you know, you play better when you're on a streak. You're relaxed, you're confident, and you know, you're in the habit of making good decisions. Whereas after you lose, you're like, ah, screw it, you know? A lot of bad habits, you know, the more you do them, the easier it is to do them in the future. You know, the good habits build off of themselves, bad habits build off of themselves. When you eat right for a week, and then Saturday rolls around, you know, you might think that you're like, I'm desperate for this, you know, cheat meal. But oftentimes, at least, you know, not really the bastion of physical health right now, obviously, but when I have been more active, I've been like, you know, I don't really want to have 6 slices of pizza for dinner. Instead, you know, why would I jeopardize all the progress that I made this week? We maybe indulge a little bit, but, you know, let's not get too out of control. You know, when you got good study habits, you know, maybe you've worked really hard to have like a 95 in a course. And then you're like, well, the final exam's coming up. I've already passed. I don't really need to study, but simultaneously, you know, I work so hard to be where I'm at right now. If I just work a little harder, I can avoid squandering it and perhaps even build on it. And I think there's a truth to that in a lot of aspects of life. There's truth to that in YouTube, honestly, and Twitch for that. I think any job, really, probably, but I can speak specifically to Twitch and YouTube, you know? Part of the reason that you get so much content on Twitch and you get so much content on YouTube is because I've risen to a point where I'm like, I worked hard for this. And I haven't forgotten that, you know, when I was sitting in my apartment in Korea, I was like, man, I would give anything to not teach and instead be able to make videos all day. First off, this sounds like it owns to begin with. And secondly, I like entertaining people. So every day I remember that. And some days I'm like, I could probably get away with not doing as much. And, you know, you deserve it. You've been working hard. But simultaneously, you know, I'm not saying you run the risk of squandering everything you've worked for. But rather, you know, I think once you skip one day, you're like, now I can skip multiple days. And you get the idea. I think you can backslide like that. So I think it applies to Isaac too. Isaac as well. When you're playing well and you're consistently making good decisions, makes it more likely that you'll continue with that in the future, I think, at least. And I think that's why, you know, the number one advice, and I'm not a perfect human being. I oftentimes don't follow this advice myself out of laziness or inaction. Let's not say laziness. This is a little bit too judgmental, but we're going to be very reckless here, by the way. I want the money, but more importantly, I want the speed. Please take my spirit heart. Thank you. We will hear a font real quick. We'll lose the spirit heart. Use the prayer card. Use it again. Okay. Dude, an attempt was made. I would take Crystal Ball, probably. Wishbone? Sure, why not? I think that's why the best advice, whenever people are like, you know, what's your best advice for anything? The first piece of advice is always just start. And it's because your brain plays tricks on you, right? Like even right now, when I think of like, you know, working out, oh, it's so much time and it's so hard. Your brain plays tricks on you. Once you're actually in the mode of doing it, you're like, I enjoy it. It's the same with me going to school. You know, before I started, I should have taken those. Before I started taking classes, I was like, ugh. I don't have that kind of time taking classes. You know, I already went through school. Now that I've, you know, been in the classes for a long time, I'm like, dude, I can't wait till it's Tuesday so I can go, you know, learn a little bit more and get away from my office and, you know, continue because you've already invested in it. Basically, you're just reaping your investment week over week and then adding to it a little bit so that the next week it's even better. Now, what does this have to do with Isaac? What it has to do with Isaac is that I'm talking about things that are unrelated to Isaac as a result of the fact that as of right now, we still do not have a tiers upgrade. And I'm telling you, we are merely 1 tiers upgrade away from being so much better off. By the way, can I get a PogChamp in the chat, please, for constructively using constructively using the drowsy pill? And we will hold our store credit right now in the interest of getting something from the shop. We'll probably go back for Wishbone, but I may also just forget. I'm not one of those self-improvement guys. You know the self-improvement guys. I have a professor who's a self-improvement guy. By the way, he's an amazing professor. But he's always half of his lectures. He's a very inspiring teacher. I think it's important as a teacher. But like, you know, I took a 6-week course in him. It's a little bit private. I took a 6-week course with him. And, you know, it's supposed to be like learning a language. And the last week, he was just like, now that you know the fundamentals of this language, go make $1 million. You can do it. And I was like, dude, I just want to know, like, how do I adjust, you know, the parameters of a class that I've written in JavaScript 5. I don't blame him, by the way, because I think it was probably more valuable for a lot of people to have a lecture that was like, hey, get inspired, because it also probably inspired them to continue with their learning. But simultaneously, I was like, you know, sure, okay, Godhead, thank you, that'll do. It's actually a tiers downgrade, so FML, but I'm like, dude, sure, $1 million is cool, but can you teach me something I could learn from Udemy in 10 seconds? You're not gonna like what I'm about to say, okay? But Godhead still kind of sucks here. It will be awesome, but it sucks right now because we need to get a tiers upgrade. I snap kept it because it's a great item. Sorry, let me rephrase. It's not that Godhead sucks. It's that it doesn't make our run not suck. And there's a subtle but important difference to be made there, I suppose. It's not Godhead's fault. Godhead is doing what it can. You know, I will take pay to play, even though it's not particularly strong. Could it be? It won't happen this run, but it's very likely to happen next run. You know, the same guys. I'm always wary because there's like a... Every time. I'm like, Shard of Glass Isaac. What does it do? This link is purple. Probably 20 times. Adds a chance to drop a red heart upon taking damage. Okay, we're not going to take that. I always get it confused. For some reason, I get it confused with the Guts item that was in, like, Anti-Birth. Nah, even this I don't think is that necessary for us right now. We will take Sad Bombs, even though we're unlikely to use them. At least they're fun. You know, there's a community of people out there, and it's mostly, and you see them, I don't know, I see them all the time. I get targeted ads on Facebook for reasons that I do not understand. Right, I blew up everything in here. But it's always like a dude, and it's like, here's how I became a millionaire. And when you think about it critically, you realize, you know, first off, I don't think many of these guys are independently successful, and then we're like, hey, they're not like Warren Buffett, okay? They're not making a great life for themselves and then dispensing that advice. The way that they're making their living is by pretending to be successful and then selling the pretend advice that they have. And then they're making money off of people who think that they have the secret. I think, at least. That's my conspiracy theory about that. And that probably causes me to throw the baby out with the bathwater in a lot of situations. Where I just write all self-help off as, like, the blind leading the blind. So I say this only to say that I'm not a self-helpy sort of guy. Now, keep that in mind, that when I say that, you know, if you're improving yourself, I'm a huge fan of that, you know. I always want to better myself. I take stock of my personal flaws as honestly and frankly as I can while still maintaining an unhealthy ego. You know, I'm trying to become more well-read, a nicer and more compassionate person, you know, work harder but simultaneously spend more time with my family. You know, there's a lot of things that I'm trying to balance. And I think it's good to do so. I just, whenever somebody is aggressively like, hey, I rented a Jaguar to pretend that I'm rich. Buy my ebook and you can learn how to pretend to be as rich as I am. You know, or, you know, hey, I got rich by making a website and then outsourcing all of my work to another country where, you know, I can pay people $2 an hour to do something that makes me $100 an hour. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like you're leading a very passion-driven life. Basically exploiting another human being to be wealthy because of where you live and where they live. But anyway, I didn't mean for this to go down this road, but I'm just saying, because I'm always where there's YouTubers who are like, there was a great, and I call out streamers all the time for what I see as hypocrisy or overinflated senses of self-importance. And I have it too. I think it comes by it honestly when you have like, you know, you might have 3,000 people talking and like 99% of them are like, you're awesome and hilarious. And then one person is like, I disagree with your opinion. And people are like, toxic, get out. Hey, trolls, get out of here. You know? It can breed an unhealthy sort of sense of self. I truly believe. Hold up. We don't need these items desperately. We can do without them. But either way, I saw a great tweet that was like, you know, streamers on stream is like, make sure to get plenty of rest, eat fruits and vegetables, get 7 hours of sleep a night, and drink lots of water. And then like streamers off stream is like, you know, finished my show where I sat down for 8 hours without moving, ate my first meal of the day at 10 p.m. consisting of leftover mac and cheese, and then watched 4 hours of Netflix. And I'm like, dude, that's a great tweet, because it roasts me as well. I want damage. Give me Seraphim here. So that's, I bring it up not to neutralize, and I think we're skipping our item room, but whatever. Not to neutralize the hypocrisy, but just to bring it to light. You know, I'm like, you know, the best advice if you want to do anything is just start. And I'm like, man, I can't wait till this video's done. I'm going to go watch Jeopardy. No, I'm not. I'm going to record like a bunch more videos, but you get the idea. Anyway, I'm just spitballing. Again, I could be saved from this embarrassing conversation if only we could be given a single tiers upgrade. Do we need it to win? No. HP is great, but tiers upgrade would... I mean, a single tiers upgrade... Oh, I didn't even see it down there. My bad. Could double our DPS with one item, so... And the thing that gets me is not that I'm asking for the moon, but it's quite the opposite. It's like, a tiers upgrade is common. You know, we should expect to find one. I hope. We're lucky that we don't need one to win, but it would help my quality of life. What are you doing? Yeah, come back here. Tears? What have I become, my sweetest friends? Everyone I love goes away in the end. So this, by the way, potato peeler. I shouldn't be complaining, because potato peeler is actually not only awesome, but kind of hilarious for us. Let's take this just to stay safe, but... Tower? Amnesia? Health up? Ooh! Look at that. So why am I doing this? Well, to be honest, it gives us the ability to actually get a benefit out of the prayer card. I don't really care if we get a deal with the devil here. And again, I think you feel free to hate me for this one. I think we skipped 2 item rooms in a row. On the other hand, we did also get 3 4th level cubes of meat. So, hate it or love it, the underdog's on top, and I'm gonna shine homie until my heart stops. Small rock? It's okay. So, I mean, we're leaving not worse off than we were, and Holy Light is actually a wonderful item. The only downside to Holy Light is that our rate of fire is still kind of bad, but I'm going to stop complaining, because this run is actually beautiful. It just... And Dead Onion did a lot for us, by the way, in ways that you might not consider or have considered in the past. Previously, when a Holy Light, or sorry, when a God's Head shot hit an enemy, it hit them, and then it died. Not sometimes the enemy died, but the shot definitely died. Now, the shot, because it pierces thanks to Dead Onion, it continues to live and do damage with the creep or the aura that's around it. So it's actually not even like piercing shot raising our DPS by allowing us to hit multiple enemies. In this case, it's piercing shot allowing us to kill enemies by just keeping like the AoE on them longer. And we'll get a good test here against the Matriarch, but we should be fine. And you know, in the end, this is gonna go down as a lot of fun. We've had a day full of very, very interesting and unusual runs today. This is a cool one. Plus, I know, you know, pulling back the curtain a little bit, I've been talking a lot about Isaac and Isaac episodes, and I would rather not be talking about Isaac and Isaac episodes as well, but I have to trick my brain. I don't always have control over whether it's going to be an anecdote-driven episode or a content-driven episode, you know? I talk about Isaac, and then I springboard off of that into anecdotes that are related to other things that I've been talking about, so I'm always happy when we have the chance to talk, even if it's mildly, I don't want to say controversial, but, you know, sandpapery. Again, I just want to, my final thesis on the self-help thing is, I think self-improvement rules are just the culture of self-help sometimes. I definitely don't want it to come across like, hey, I'm trying to, like, quit smoking, and my favorite YouTuber says, you know, hey, trying to improve yourself is stupid. That's not it at all. What strikes me as a little misguided is when people are like, hey, I'm gonna learn how to get rich from a guy who got rich by writing a book about how to get rich but was not rich before he wrote the book. You know? It's like mid-level marketing. It's like Cutco knife sales. I feel like everybody of a certain age has a story like this, but for those of you who are unaware, there's an industry called basically MLM, and not MLM, something different. And what it is you become basically an independent contractor who sells products and then gets paid a commission by selling those products. Mary Kay Cosmetics, Cutco knives, essential oils, all sorts of stuff like that. Books, like book sales outside of a Walmart. And if you're involved with that stuff, I'm not upset with you, and I'm not judging you. But what I am going to say is that they always, and they, you know, I went to a school where they would come in and they would market like every year. And you'd be looking for summer jobs. And you know, it's before you're really adult enough to be like, I should be asking more questions about this. But, you know, you're looking for summer jobs, and the summer jobs are like, hey, $8 an hour to be my servant. And you're like, well, that doesn't sound so good. And then these companies are like, hey, kid, hey, 19-year-old stranger I've never met. How'd you like to own your own company? And you're like, well, that sounds better. And then it turns out, hold up here for a sec, that the way you, oh, we got spun there. The way you own your own company, we're going to Emperor and then work our way backwards, by the way, just so that we're forced to go to some rooms. Otherwise, I would just be fighting Mega Satan right now. Is by selling knives to people, but, you know, it's not 1950, so like door-to-door sales are just likely to get the door slammed in your face, or you can take advantage of very lonely people who will like buy a book off of you in order to take up half an hour of your time, which is sad, but, you know. Anyway, one of my cousins got involved with it, and he's like, you know, he was having some hard times in his life. Perhaps some substance abuse related issues. And then he was like, hey, first off, I'm clean. And we're all like, that's awesome. And then he was like, and I got a good job. I'm a salesman, and I'm selling knives. By the way, do you want to buy any? And we were like, I've heard that, by the way, that if you're buying these knives, the knives are actually good, they're just overpriced. It's not like they're selling you junk and charging you a ton of money for it. As far as I'm aware, at least, I think it's just that you're overpaying to basically subsidize the commission. Here's the thing, though. Eventually, you know, you run out of friends and family that are going to buy these things off of you. And it turns out that, you know, if you look at the stats for most of these companies, the average person who's affiliated with them is like making under $50 a year. But anyway, one of my friends went to one of these for a job interview, and he's an ambitious type. And he came back, this is one summer, and he was like really dejected. And he was like, yeah, so it turns out it was like a book. Basically, you were an independent salesperson / business owner, so you could put it on Facebook. But you bought a bunch of books off of this guy, who probably bought them off of the company to begin with, and then you sell them in front of stores until they tell you to leave. And for every book you sell, you get like a little commission. And he said, like, as soon as he went, he knew that like something was wrong, but it didn't fully click with him until like halfway through the interview. The dude was like, hey, do you want to grab lunch? And he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then they went to McDonald's, and the interviewer was like, hey, I'm kind of like cash strapped right now. Could you pay for it? That's just it's a very common sense piece of life advice for you. If you ever interview at a company and they ask you to lunch, and then it's bad enough if you're interviewing at the company and they make you buy your own lunch. But if they ask you to buy the interviewer's lunch, run far, far away. Probably should have popped on Drowsy about 10 years ago, but whatever. That is a horrible sign. You know, there are companies out there, you interview for like an engineering job at Google, they might fly you out like 3 times. They're not asking you to pay for your own flights because they're exploiting your labor for their profit, but also your own. If they were like, hey, we're going to BK, by the way, you're buying, you'd be like, I don't know. Anyway, that's a stretch and a half right there. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. That was a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on The Binding of Isaac. Follow me on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Northernlion to be notified of when I go live in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!